How do you think they did that?
Well, some of them, the granite in the Great Pyramid comes from more than 500 miles to the south. If you look at the famous King's Chamber, its walls and its roof are, the ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
For thousands of years, one question has refused to go away. How did the ancient Egyptians cut some of the hardest stone on Earth with the simple tools they were believed to have? Granite is so hard that even today it takes strong machines to shape it. Yet, long before modern technology, huge blocks of granite were cut, shaped, and moved with surprising accuracy. Many experts believe they knew the answer, but new AI research is making people look at the mystery differently. Did the ancient Egyptians know something? Or is history about to be questioned once again? Join us in this video as we reveal the details. Scientists asked Grok AI how Egyptians cut granite. The answer shocked everyone. On the banks of the Nile River in southern Egypt sits a place that has raised questions for many years. It is known as the Aswan Granite Quarry. At first glance, it looks like a simple quarry filled with large blocks of stone. The ground is dry, the desert is quiet. Huge pieces of unfinished granite lie scattered across the area. To many visitors, it may seem like nothing more than an old worksite left behind by ancient workers. But the closer people look, the stranger the place becomes. The biggest mystery begins with the stone itself. The quarry is made up of granite, one of the hardest stones found in nature. Granite is not soft. It is not easy to break. Even today, workers use powerful machines to cut and shape it. This is why many researchers have been surprised by what they found at Aswan. Across the surface of the granite are long curved marks. These marks are smooth and evenly spaced. They appear to run across the stone in a steady and controlled way. Many people who see these marks for the first time are often shocked. The cuts do not look rough. They do not look random. Instead, they appear neat and organized. Some people say they look like the kind of marks modern machines would leave behind. This has led many researchers to ask an important question. How were these marks made thousands of years ago? For many years, historians believed they already knew the answer. According to the accepted explanation, ancient Egyptian workers used simple tools. They used heavy stone hammers made from a hard rock called dolerite. They also used copper tools for some parts of the work. The idea was simple. Thousands of workers struck the granite over and over again until they slowly shaped it into the form they wanted. This explanation has been taught for a very long time. Historians estimate that huge numbers of workers passed through the quarry. Some estimates suggest that around 20,000 laborers worked there. Many of them worked in shifts. This meant the work could continue for long periods without stopping. According to this view, the construction of large stone blocks was not the result of advanced technology. It was simply the result of patience, manpower, and years of hard labor. At first, this explanation seemed reasonable. After all, enough workers can accomplish amazing things if they have enough time. But some researchers wanted to know if the theory truly matched the evidence. Instead of simply accepting the explanation, they decided to test it. They recreated the same types of stone hammers believed to have been used in ancient Egypt. Skilled workers then used these tools on large pieces of granite. They struck the stone again and again. They repeated the process thousands of times. The goal was simple. They wanted to see if they could create the same marks found at Aswan. The results surprised many people. The granite did change shape. The workers were able to remove material from the stone, but the marks left behind looked very different from those found in the quarry. Researchers also noticed something else. Human beings become tired. After hours of work, their movements change, their grip changes. This raised new questions. If the ancient workers used the same method, why did the marks at Aswan look so different? As the debate continued, some researchers turned to modern technology. They wanted a fresh way of studying the evidence. Thousands of detailed photographs of the quarry were collected. These images were used to create highly accurate three-dimensional models of the stone surfaces. Every curve, groove, and cut could now be measured in great detail. The information was then analyzed by artificial intelligence. The system was designed to study patterns without relying on old assumptions. It examined hundreds of cuts across different parts of the quarry. It measured their depth, shape, spacing, and direction. It compared one mark with another and searched for patterns that human observers might miss. The results drew immediate attention. After studying hundreds of cuts, the system found that the markings were remarkably consistent. The overall variation was reported to be only 4.3%. To many researchers, this was an important discovery. Human work normally contains much larger differences. No matter how skilled a person may be, small changes naturally appear over time. Fatigue, movement, and changing conditions all affect the final result. Yet the marks at Aswan appeared unusually uniform. The spacing remained similar. The curves followed comparable paths. The depth of the cuts showed a level of consistency that many researchers found difficult to explain through manual hammering alone. This finding did not provide a final answer. Instead, it made the mystery even deeper. So, if the old explanation does not fully fit the evidence, what did researchers discover when they compared the marks to thousands of other cutting tools? Stay tuned for more. A discovery that raised even bigger questions. After measuring the cuts across the granite, the next step was to compare them with marks made by different kinds of tools. The computer system studied thousands of examples. It looked at marks made by ancient stone hammers, bronze tools, and various modern cutting machines. It examined the shape of every cut, the angle where the tool entered the stone, the distance between one mark and the next, and how deep each cut went. The goal was simple. It wanted to find out which known tool produced marks that looked the closest to those found at the Aswan granite quarry. The first comparison was with the traditional stone hammer. According to the results, the match was poor. Hammer strikes usually leave rough marks because every blow is slightly different from the one before it. The system then compared the quarry marks with modern cutting methods. According to the report, 3 types of tools produced patterns that looked much closer to the marks found at Aswan. These were diamond rotary cutters, high-pressure water jet cutters, and ultrasonic cutting tools. These machines are built to make smooth and steady cuts. They do not become tired. They repeat the same movement again and again with almost perfect accuracy. The report claimed that the strongest match was with an industrial rotary cutting process. This result surprised many people because there is no accepted evidence that such technology existed in ancient Egypt. The investigation then turned to another strange part of the quarry. Deep inside the site are several narrow shafts that stretch many feet below the ground. These openings are long and very tight. In some places, there is barely enough room for a person to stand comfortably. Yet the walls inside these shafts contain the same smooth and curved cutting marks seen across the open quarry. This raised another difficult question. If workers used large stone hammers, how could they swing them properly inside such narrow spaces? A heavy hammer needs room to move. Without enough space to swing, it cannot build enough force to break hard granite. The walls of these shafts leave very little room for such movements. Even so, the cuts inside the shafts appear just as neat and controlled as those found outside. When the measurements of these shafts were studied, the report claimed that the available space was too small for the traditional hammering method to work as described. Researchers also looked much more closely at the surface of the granite itself. Using powerful microscopes, they examined areas that cannot be seen with the human eye alone. They wanted to understand exactly what happened when the stone was cut. Normally, when a hard stone is struck many times with another hard object, tiny cracks spread beneath the surface. Small pieces break away in different directions. The damaged area becomes rough and uneven. This is the kind of pattern experts expect to find after repeated hammer blows. The granite at Aswan appeared different. The cuts looked cleaner. Instead of showing signs of heavy impacts, the surfaces seemed to have been separated in a smooth way. Under even stronger magnification, more unusual details appeared. Very fine spiral marks could be seen across parts of the granite. These tiny patterns looked similar to marks left by a tool that spins while moving forward. Small areas also showed signs of concentrated heat. Instead of heat spreading over a wide area, it appeared to be focused on a single point. Researchers also reported finding very hard particles, including corundum and carbon structures that were described as being similar to diamond. When these observations were studied together, the report suggested that the overall pattern looked more like the work of a rotating cutting system than repeated hammer strikes. Another famous object at the quarry also became part of the investigation. It is known as the unfinished obelisk. This enormous piece of granite still lies attached to the bedrock where workers left it long ago. If it had been completed, it would have weighed more than 1,000 tons. It remains one of the largest stone monuments ever attempted. The common explanation says the work stopped because a large crack appeared in the stone. Once the crack formed, the project was no longer useful, so the workers abandoned it. However, some researchers pointed to another detail. They noticed cutting marks that continued beyond the crack. This suggested that work may have gone on for some time after the damage first appeared. The cutting marks on the unfinished obelisk also looked very similar to those found across the rest of the quarry. The same curved lines appeared again. The spacing remained even. The overall pattern looked controlled and carefully planned. This caused some researchers to ask whether there might have been another reason why such an enormous project was left unfinished. Even after years of study, the Aswan Granite Quarry continues to raise difficult questions. What if the biggest clue was not the giant stones themselves, but the strange marks left behind when they were cut? Let's delve deeper. The granite that refused to keep its secret. Researchers studying the granite quarries at Aswan found something that continues to raise many questions. They noticed that many of the smooth scoop marks were found in places where people would have found it almost impossible to work by hand. Some of these marks continue underneath huge granite blocks that were never fully removed from the bedrock. Others go deep into very narrow spaces where there is not enough room for a person to enter or swing a heavy stone tool. Similar marks can also be seen in tight corners where two rock surfaces meet. In these places, there is almost no space for a worker to pull back a pounding stone before striking the granite. Even more surprising, some of the marks appear on nearly straight walls where a person would have struggled to stand or keep a steady position while working. Because these marks continue smoothly through all these difficult places, some researchers believe they do not match the normal movement of a person using simple hand tools. They suggest that whatever made these marks moved in one smooth motion without being limited by the position of a human body. The study also looked at several deep shafts found in the granite quarry. These shafts are very narrow, but reach as deep as 30 to 50 feet into the rock. Many experts have said these were test pits made to check the quality of the granite before cutting larger blocks. However, the report points out that digging such deep and narrow holes by hand would have been extremely difficult. As workers went deeper into the shafts, there would have been less room to move, very little light, and almost no space to swing heavy tools. The report also says that some of these shafts do not go straight down. Instead, they slowly bend and change direction as they go deeper into the granite. When these curved paths were compared with the natural grain and mineral lines inside the rock, they appeared to follow those hidden paths. This suggests that the people or tools making the shafts somehow followed the inside structure of the granite, even though it could not be seen from the surface. This finding has led some researchers to believe that the cutting process may have been more advanced than what is normally believed. The granite surfaces were also studied under powerful microscopes. Instead of finding rough and broken marks that are usually left behind when hard stones are used to pound granite, researchers reported seeing very small spiral lines across the surface. These tiny patterns looked more like the marks left by a spinning cutting tool than by repeated hammer blows. Some mineral crystals inside the granite also appeared to have slightly melted together. This kind of change normally happens when a tool creates a great amount of heat through fast movement and friction. The report also claims that very small traces of diamond dust and corundum were found inside some of the cuts. Today, both of these materials are commonly used in strong cutting and grinding tools because they are among the hardest materials known. Because of these findings, some researchers believe the marks are more similar to those made by modern cutting machines than by simple stone tools. Another discovery that caught the attention of researchers involves ancient paintings found on some of the granite surfaces. These paintings were made with red ochre and showbirds, boats, and simple shapes. They are believed to have been created thousands of years before the time of the Egyptian pharaohs. In several places, the paintings sit directly on top of the smooth scoop marks. This means the cuts had already been made before the artists painted on the rock. If the dating of the paintings is correct, it would suggest that the cutting happened long before the pyramids were built and possibly even before the beginning of ancient Egyptian civilization. This has led some people to wonder whether another group of people lived in the area much earlier than history currently records. Researchers also noticed another unusual pattern while studying the quarry. They found that the oldest-looking cuts appeared to be the smoothest and most accurate. The newer cuts, which are linked to the time of the Egyptian dynasties, looked rougher and less even. This is the opposite of what people normally expect. In most cases, technology improves over time as people gain more knowledge and experience. Here, however, the work seems to become less precise instead of better. Because of this, some researchers believe later builders may have inherited older methods but slowly lost the knowledge needed to produce the same level of skill. After all these discoveries, did Grok AI finally solve the mystery of how the ancient Egyptians cut granite? Let's take a closer look. The mystery that still has no answer. Researchers also studied a large hollow area in the southern part of the Aswan Quarry. For many years, archaeologists believed this place was used as a harbor or loading point where huge granite blocks were prepared before being moved to the Nile River for transport. However, after carefully studying its shape, depth, and the rocks around it, the AI analysis suggested another possible explanation. It proposed that the hollow may not have been a harbor at all. Instead, it could be the space left behind after an enormous block of granite was removed. By measuring the size of the hollow, the system estimated that such a stone could have weighed several thousand tons. Even with this interesting idea, the report made it clear that there is still no direct proof that such a giant stone was ever cut out or transported. No written records, transport marks, or other physical evidence have been found to support this claim. Because of this, both ideas remain possible, and more research will be needed before experts can know which explanation is correct. The study also looked closely at old red drawings found on the granite surfaces. In several places, the red color could be seen inside the carved grooves instead of being cut across by them. This shows that the stone was cut first, and the drawings were added later. Similar drawings have been found in other parts of the Sahara and the Nile Valley, and many experts believe they were made thousands of years before the time of the pharaohs. If the same dating is correct for the drawings at Aswan, it could mean that some of the quarry work happened before ancient Egypt became a great kingdom. However, the report also warned that this idea has not been proven. The drawings at Aswan have not been directly dated, so no one can say for certain when the granite was actually cut. More scientific testing will be needed before researchers can build a clear timeline of the quarry's history. The report explained that the AI system did not claim to have solved the mystery of how the granite was cut. Instead, it showed that some of the physical evidence does not fully agree with the explanations that are accepted today. The AI found repeated patterns, smooth cut marks, deep shafts, and other features that are difficult to explain using current theories alone. Rather than giving a final answer, the system suggested that researchers should carry out more field studies, collect better images, perform new laboratory tests, and repeat stone-cutting experiments using different methods. What do you think about the mystery of Egyptian granite? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us as we explored one of ancient Egypt's greatest mysteries and the surprising AI analysis that is making experts take another look at how the ancient Egyptians may have cut granite. If you enjoyed this journey into history, archaeology, and new technology, please like and subscribe. Click on the next video to discover more stories. See you there.